So we have a bit of an issue. We want to say up front, I think you and I are in agreement about this.
Yeah.
Fuck AI.
Fuck AI.
AI is more often than not a plagiarism machine. And I want to front load this segment with that because the next few things that is about to come out of both of our mouths are going to probably give you the impression that that's not what we believe. So I just want to say, fuck AI. But y'all, we got to do the anti-AI movement a lot better.
Yeah.
We got to be better about this. We got to actually like really rethink how we are engaging in anti-AI discourse. I will admit some of this is having watched a video by Dr. Fatima, right?
Yeah.
I think that's her name.
Good. Yeah.
I've only seen a handful of her videos, but I watched her video about this from a few months ago, about the anti-AI movement and how like a lot of people are leaning into the shaming route of being anti-AI, and that is not helpful. And it's objectively not helpful. If you disagree, you are denying science. You're denying actual like real science and psychology, and actual studies into how the brain works. Because fundamentally, the anti-AI movement, when we're doing like the shaming element of it, is functioning no differently than the types of people who will do like abstinence education. The overt shaming causes people to do it harder, and causes them to hide and lie about it.
It's the same issue with drugs.
Yes, with drugs, with sex, with everything that you can put like a moral like
it is the kind of
to.
that kind of attitude is the kind of thing that gives people eating disorders.
Yes, it is. Now that we've said that, we want to talk about the thing that this video is actually about, which is Expedition 33.
So this game is one that I really loved when it launched. And I was really excited when it was nominated for so many awards. And then, after it won the awards, it was discovered that they had used in its development at one point some AI textures and assets.
And then removed them, or removed all but like one or two before release. And then it wasn't discovered until long after release that the game had a couple of those leftover assets in them, which they removed.
And then
we bring this up.
They talked about it and they admitted to it, and they said that they had experimented with it.
Yeah, well, this is why I brought this article up, because this article goes over them kind of responding after the fact to the timeline for when they used AI. And a lot of you, I think, are thinking when we say they used AI in the video game, that means they used AI to do all of their work, and then they shielded it by tracing over the AI's work and just putting that into the game. And they did this right before release. And it turns out, no, that's not what happened. No. They used it in 2022 when the game had already been in development for 4 years. And AI was just broadly becoming more accessible.
And people were experimenting with it broadly at the time without the pushback that is currently existing.
Yep. And then they didn't like it. And then they removed the stuff and apparently missed a couple of those things and got rid of it. And you might think, well, this is them just covering up after the fact. And I don't know. And you don't know that either. I can only take their word for it. But I do know this. You were using AI in 2022. We were all using AI in 2022. We were fucking around with it online.
We were figuring out what it is, what it does, how it works, if it's actually useful or if it is in fact a plagiarism machine. We would not be here if that period of time did not have some experimentation.
Yeah, because the anti-AI movement broadly didn't really exist until 2024. You can see inklings of it in like 2023 when it started becoming more apparent.
Like there were people back in 2022 that saw it and they understood the technology and said, it's not really good.
Yeah.
It's a bad thing. Maybe no. Maybe no.
And then there was a little bit more of it in 2023 when things like that Studio Ghibli filter started making its rounds and started being like a way of, hey, what if we just did this thing that overtly plagiarizes somebody else's work? And that's when people started waking up to it. But then in 2024, it started becoming much more prominent. We bring all of this up because people still to this day, and the reason why Clair Obscur is the example we're giving, is that game lost its Indie Game of the Year award, and they stuck to that not because the game actually used AI assets, but because they ever used AI in the development process of the game.
At all.
And I'm here to tell you, that is going to be all video games in the next 2 years.
The reason we say that is something that Saige brought to my attention earlier today, is that Unity, the engine
I'm pretty sure it's Unity.
That runs like 90% of video games.
Hey, Editing Sage here. A couple of days ago when we made this comment on stream, I did not go ahead and just fact check it right then. That's on me. Next time, that's what I'll be doing if I'm unsure. But I brought this comment to Audrey's attention about Unity using AI in its newest update. I was misremembering that was Unreal Engine 6 that will be integrating generative AI and models like Claude into it. So I just wanted to make that clear before we continue, and I'll try to like put some text on screen to remind you all that we're talking about Unreal when we say Unity, because I misremembered which one it was. So that's on me. Sorry about that.
AI toolset?
As far as I'm aware, at least what I heard, I don't want to make like a definitive claim, but what I heard was that Unity will be implementing AI toolsets in it.
Because whether or not Unity is or isn't is aside from the point that practically every toolset is currently implementing AI. Every smartphone, like almost every computer, anything that runs Windows has AI integrated into the operating system.
Yeah. Eventually, those tools are going to start making their way into the gaming industry. And I say eventually because they already have. People who work in the gaming industry will tell you they are already being forced to use AI tools in the development of these games. Almost every single video game, especially AAA ones, that are going to be released over the next couple of years are going to have some AI usage throughout the development process. Now, some of those will be better than others. I'm going to give you an example of a game that I'm not giving a pass for this. 1666 Amsterdam. That game just had its demo come out, right? We all saw it. I actually thought it looked really cool. The story behind this game is like actually kind of weirdly awesome in a way, because the story of 1666 Amsterdam is that it was created by the person who did Assassin's Creed at Ubisoft.
Who created Assassin's Creed.
Created Assassin's Creed at Ubisoft. And he left Ubisoft to create this game. And then it got, like...
The studio that he created got bought by Ubisoft, and he got fired, and the project got shut down.
Yeah.
And then he sued for the rights to take back his project.
And won. And that's really awesome. I love seeing game developers say fuck Ubisoft. And I think that this game doesn't deserve a pass because the way that they used AI was more obviously to create the actual like product that they were selling rather than just generating, you know, using tool sets that happen to have AI embedded into them or utilizing something for like general outline purposes, right? Like the actual trailer itself seemed to have AI generated stuff in it. And that, to me, I think is a tier above what the developers at Clear Obscure did.
Which was just generate a couple of things experimentally, decide that they didn't like it, and then removed everything that they remembered to.
And then said that they're not going to be doing that in the future.
They have no interest in it whatsoever.
Another example would be Lies of P. The creators of Lies of P recently put out job listings for AI artists to actively create the artwork for the upcoming game. That is something you shouldn't support.
And to respond to what's happening in chat right now, people use AI as getting a general outline of things. If you use AI as a foundation and then working people are doing the majority of work and the final product, is that a bad thing? Yes, that is still a bad thing, because you are not a person telling a story that you have crafted and created by hand. You are tracing over something that is just regurgitated garbage and nonsense.
Yeah, so it's like if I have a piece of art, like if I'm like painting, right, and there's a piece of art that I use as inspiration, and in the process of doing that I trace over it, and then maybe while I'm like tracing over it, I add a few embellishments, right? I change some things. Maybe I start with the basic outline, but the final shape is not exactly the thing. I still traced over someone's artwork, and then I didn't disclose that. That's still a problem. And it's especially a problem if I don't have permission from the other like party who created the original thing that I started tracing over to do that. It's fine if you're like training yourself on how to draw by like tracing art. It's fine if you are learning music and want to work on learning how to play other people's songs. It's when you start taking other people's lyrics or taking other people's music and passing it off as your own, or when you start tracing people's work and selling it as if it was your own. If you don't disclose those things, that makes it bad.
Yeah.
And a lot of the AI usage in gaming companies right now are doing those things. But games like Clair Obscur, we need to have a little bit more nuance with this discussion, because I think the knee-jerk reaction to Clair Obscur was, well, they use AI at all, therefore they're bad. And the Indie Game Awards literally said that. They said, it does not matter what the context was, they used it at all in the development process, therefore they are disqualified from having the winning the Indie Game Awards.
And if they had released the game a year earlier before the backlash got so loud to AI, that would have never happened.
It would have never happened.
But it was only because it was launched at a moment in time where the backlash against AI happened to line up with it.
Yep. And like, I think, I gotta be honest, I think we were too harsh on them. I think we were not only too harsh on them, but we've been too harsh on other companies where it's come out that what they've done is they've just kind of fucked with it and then decided against it.
And like, I have heard the argument for people, like, when they hear people complaining about like the examples that Saige has brought up herself for like Amsterdam and for Lies of P, and people will say, oh, but you're giving Clair Obscur the pass. They used AI too. It's like, the context is different. The intent is different. The cultural moment in history was different.
Mm-hmm. Is the line taking it to market? Like, is if I use AI or AI for my own amusement, that gets a pass? Well, I guess it depends on what you define as for your own amusement. So I'll say this. If you generate like an AI image, I still think that kind of like sucks a little bit, because there's still like a lot of concerns around AI, generally speaking, in terms of the environmental impact, in terms of just the fact that it kind of like exists unregulated and that it is literally scraping people's works without their consent or permission.
And like this, we are not saying every image or every conversation is using 10,000 gallons of water like a lot of people seem to be doing. That is not where the environmental impact comes from. It's the fact that you are using it incentivizes them to continue training new models which do use that water in that training.
Yeah. And also the other thing being that, like, if you are using it for your own amusement, okay, so let's imagine a scenario, the most the most ethical AI scenario where you are self-hosting it, and you also have your own power grid,
And you've trained it
and
yourself.
you've trained it yourself, and all of the data that you've trained on it, you've gotten the permission of every single person that,
Or it's exclusive
or if
to you.
or if exclusive to you, or it's public domain. Okay. And you want to use that to create like an artwork or a song or a book or something that you never sell and you never post on social media, I'm fine with that. The minute it goes anywhere beyond your four walls, yeah.
It's
Because and I want to be clear about that too. This is why I say social media specifically, because I anticipate that some may view, well, posting it on social media isn't the same thing as like selling it. Yes, it is. You may not be selling it. You are giving it to the company to sell on your behalf. So you may not be personally making any money off of it, but Facebook or Twitter or Blue Sky or YouTube or whatever is.
And that is not to say that there are no legitimate uses of AI. AI as a tool is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
It's not AI, but
it is fascinating.
But it is fascinating. Like, when we are talking about AI, we're talking about like the statistical models that everything currently is built on. And those can be used for real legitimate purposes in science and technology and processing.
Yeah.
They can be used for processing voice data in terms of having computers understand natural language models. They can diagnose cancer 4 years earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That was a legitimate news story.
And it's really cool that
yes, large language models. Thank you,
yeah.
Paco.
Yeah. And like it's really cool that it can do those things. So I'm not saying that like there is no good use case for AI. In fact, I'm trying to kind of instill that into you, that like the anti-AI movement has one flaw, and that it's that it does not want people to understand what the benefits of AI could be, and it wants people to be ashamed for utilizing it in its current form.
Yeah, it's because everything is controlled on the cloud, mm-hmm. because they are making a system where you literally cannot build and own your own computer anymore, because they are building up and buying all of the parts for their systems because they have all of the money and they want you to run everything in your life on their cloud systems.
Yep. You will own nothing and be happy. And ultimately, I say all of this to kind of loop this back around to the thing that started all of this. When I say we could be better about our anti-AI tendencies, I really do mean that it is not a problem to be anti-AI. I am anti-AI. I think that AI is generally used pretty deplorably. But we were way too hard on the developers of Clair Obscur, at least based on the information that we have. It could turn out we could be all be wrong. Could turn out that we were wrong about it all. And I'm open to that being a possibility. But based on what I know about everything, we were way too hard on them. And we've got to stop having this knee-jerk reaction where we see the word AI in something and just immediately assume the worst. Because we're recreating the same habits that have been recreated against us in the past for every social issue and for every media scare. And the more we shame people, the more people are going to use it and not tell us about it. And it's getting to the point where all of these tools are going to be integrated with AI eventually. And sure, I'll admit, we're in a bubble and it's going to burst. And it's probably going to burst soon, probably in the next 2 years. To be honest,
the technology is too useful for them not to try to use in any way that they can.
Yep. Once things like Unity start integrating them, once things like, I mean, God forbid these artists end up using like any Adobe software, any software that is going to be used that has an AI integration into it. It's going to use AI tools regardless. And you could say, well, it's a difference between using the tools and using generative AI. It's all built on the same hardware. It's all using the same resources. It's all part of the same bubble. The more you try to talk yourself around it, the more you try to morally justify why one is like better than the other, the more I'm sitting here saying we could just avoid all of this and just accept that, better or worse, we are where we are now. And we really need to stop having the knee-jerk reaction to this thing where we start treating people like ants beneath our feet because they fucked around with AI at the same time everyone was fucking around with AI.
Because it became publicly accessible.
4 years ago, yeah. If you want to be anti-AI, the first thing is not to just know what's wrong with it, but know what the benefits are, and to be able to educate people, and to not shame people for utilizing it.
Like, there is a reason there is an epidemic of students, like, using it, because they're being told, they're being advertised to as it being a shortcut to get good grades in a world where grades are all that matter.
Mm-hmm.
Not learning, not information, not knowledge, grades.
And when we treat those students like they are committing a moral wrong, like they are part of like the degradation of human society, does that get them to stop? No, it just gets them to stop telling you that they're doing it. I think one of you mentioned in chat earlier utilizing like the AI summary tool on YouTube for seeing if you're interested in something. Even if you're doing something like that, of all of the things that you could be doing with AI, I'm so fucking thankful that it's that and that you're not having an AI boyfriend on ChatGPT.
But even that, you have to realize that just because the AI is scraping the data of the video and summarizing it, it doesn't mean that it is actually telling you the content of the video, because hallucinations are a thing. And yeah, some of them are actually pretty good now. Like, they have worked out a lot of the bugs, like, because Google and YouTube have access to all of the text and voice data of every YouTube video. They have one of the strongest
use cases,
one of the strongest models in terms of actually parsing that.
Mm-hmm.
Just be careful.
Yeah.
Don't rely on it.
AI responsibly. And I know that people are going to say, well, I don't want to say AI responsibly because that implies that people should be doing it. No, it's like drinking. I'm not going to advocate for you to drink, but if you're going to do it, I don't want you to drive. So to round out this segment, I just want to say, we've talked a lot about AI, and I think I've made it pretty clear that we're not in favor of it, right? And I think I've made it pretty clear where we stand as far as how we should be engaging in the anti-AI like fight, because we are on it. However, part of that means we need to have more nuance. And in the case of things like the developers of Clair Obscur, in the case of like individuals who have been caught up in being addicted to chatbots, or utilizing certain features that are like kind of helpful for them, shaming people for using something that's helpful to them that can make things better in certain situations, for becoming addicted to chatbots when that thing it functions like an addiction. It functions like gambling, like alcohol, like drugs. It functions like that, and you can't beat that through shame. And when you are shaming people for not really knowing and fucking around and then realizing, oh, this isn't as good as I wanted it to be, and then just being done with it, and then forgetting like one thing that doesn't even matter, you're not doing anyone a favor, when in reality it is a much more complex topic. There are benefits to it, and there are really, really, really big downsides to it. And the only way we can get to talking about the downsides is if we understand what the upsides are. That's all I about have for this segment. So we will see you guys in another video.